teach and guide. As someone who was his desk mate as we were doing our masters, I can assure you he really loves to create. Being in group work with him was always amazing because I knew Ian would get things done. But I wasn't those joyriders in group work, guys. I used to also do the work, which he fulfills through his diverse roles. He's a journalist, he's an innovator, he's an author. He has authored 2 books. He's a trainer. He's a business coach and entrepreneur. You know, when you're when you're doing your masters and you meet someone who has done an undergrad in something else, and then they willingly chose to do a master's in media. I I was so jazzed to hear, that diversity in thinking. We're slowly shifting from that version of ourselves where whatever you do in undergrad is what necessarily you must continue to do, and I love to see it. So also share with us if you've pivoted, if you've changed careers one way or another. I'd love to hear from you. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing to always strive to learn. He's an award-winning TV host. He has achieved acclaim for his outstanding work on the highly rated business magazine show in Kenya, Late Night Business, and formerly The Business Coach, broadcasted on Kenya Television Network, KTN. As an author, Ian has 2 books under his belt, Business Conquest and Food for Thought, which have all been driven by his quest to teach and guide his readers. Business Quest is an entrepreneurship guide by Ian as a business coach that charters one through a practical entrepreneurship pathway using Kenya's entrepreneurship stories. So Ian, as a true business person and also as a journalist, decided to give us real life practical examples and collate them in this amazing book called Business Conquest, and of course, Food for Thought. On the other hand, is a buffet of over 400 quotes that's meant to trigger our thoughts through life and business for one to experience abundance. I love that word, abundance. Ian holds a bachelor's degree in commerce from the Strathmore University and a master's degree in digital journalism from the Aga Khan University. Ian, welcome to our session. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. A round of applause for Ian. I'm so excited to learn from you. Ian is one of those guys who, he's doing so much, Buena. You're like, hey, bro, you're doing books, you're teaching, you're coaching. But welcome to our session. Just tell us a bit about yourself and then take it over. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Beryl. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining in. I think Beryl has introduced me quite well. I seem like a jack of many trades, but I'm also a master of so many other different trades. And you're Hengo and Ashanga. What's wrong with this guy? He's trying to do everything. But I think at the helm of everything is just trying to live to your purpose. I'm such a believer of purpose. And that's the reason I'm actually here to just share, what's it called? Basically, some of my thoughts towards planning. So before the session, we tried putting out the presentation. Na inajifanya sasa ifungui. So that's how the world works. You always prepare, you prepare, you prepare, and then when the time comes, yeah, it's not showing. But let me just try.
Happy to share on my side, Ian, if it's
Just try to share it on your end. I don't know. I'm now trying. So we opened it, Beryl, before.
I
Everything was
did.
okay. Everything was perfect. And then at the right
Okay.
time, it never shows. But you should be good to go. Thank you so much, Beryl. So primarily how I want to go about this particular session, I would like us all of us just to engage through it. So at any particular point in time, if you have a question, if you have any of your thoughts, feel free to just raise your hand and just nudge in. I can see we are almost 20 something of us, almost 30, so it's enough crowd. So any point you feel like you have a question, you have a clarification, you can just go ahead and just nudge me and just get to engage. As Beryl had said, all of us know how to plan. All of us have planned before. So there's nothing new I'm going to share, but primarily maybe what new I'm going to share is just different perspectives that can nudge us as we forge through the year. It's a blessing that we have seen this year to this point. So I always say it is good that you can be able to plan ahead. So just a bit about me. I think Beryl has mentioned most about it. I'm an author. I'm an entrepreneur. I do many other things, but for this particular purpose, I just like to be guided by my purpose. God's purpose for me is to create, teach, and guide, and I enjoy having these particular sessions to share the little knowledge that I have. At the moment, 2 of the enterprises that I manage, one is a new baby of mine. It's called the End Network. So primarily, it is a Pan African media platform that I'm actually building. Having been in media for the longest time, mainstream media, digital media, I thought it's my time now to forge my own journey. I've been with KTN for the longest period of time. Briefly worked with Nation for a while, different media stations, consulted a lot in across Africa. So I was like, let me just now time to build my platform. It's called the End Network. You can check it out. It's the end.africa. That's the website. You can also check it out on social media. We're just starting it out. The other business that I'm actually trying to grow, it's called Mojo. So the more you listen to me, the more you'll find out like this guy wants to do everything. So Mojo started out by curiosity of trying to build a yogurt brand, which we are actually building. So we have a yogurt brand called Mojo, but it has now metamorphosized into other areas of business. So we are big now on events, we're big on creating experiences. So that's primarily what I do. And two of the books that Beryl has mentioned, one is called Business Conquest, the other is called Food for Thought. It's just sharing my thoughts around entrepreneurship and life, which are areas I'm actually very big at. And they're all retailing at Nuria and also at Textbook Center, and they're doing quite well. So yeah, if you want to learn a thing or two from me, here are some of the things you can actually go to. So Beryl, you can go next. So today, just various 4 points I wanted to just run through. So why goals don't materialize. I think at the start of every year in, year out, you always say, "Oh, hii mwaka itakuwa ni yangu, hii mwaka ni yangu." Oh, you do all those things, and then the year ends up, and you've not done what exactly you had intended to do. So we're going to be looking at why exactly that is so, because I'm sure for many of us who are here, we have experienced it, even me, like every year. I think until a few years back when I got to understand how do I manage my plans, how do I make my plans to come to fruition, and how do I go about it. So we're going to be looking into it. The other thing you're going to be looking at is vision, strategy, and activities. So these are literally at the foundation of every planning. So you're going to be going into it. What's your vision? What's your strategy? And what are the activities towards it? And how do you ensure the three of them morph towards being a sustainable plan and come to fruition? We're going to be looking at building realistic annual plans, and how do we go about it? And then finally, implementation and accountability. So, as I've said before, most of these things we know. The whole thing, I would like, what's it called, to go, as we go through this particular session, is to make it practical for you. Because our plans, either personal or business, are what's it called, are ours personally. So the best way you can get output from this particular session is if we engage more, and then you just try to diagnose your plans, get your perspectives as I share my particular perspective towards planning, and then we can engage more through it. So Beryl, you can go next. So if you're together, hope I'm not, because it's always weird when you're doing a session. You're the one who's on. So hope you're all. If you're all on, maybe all of us can give us a thumbs up. So that nijue tukote pamoja. No, tukaungana. Okay, sawa. I can see all of us are here. Sawa, sawa. Because I'm sure you're all seated on a shanga. You too. Hope I'm not speaking first, but I would like to. Yeah. So here we go. So why didn't my goals materialize? And I'd like to start it with a question. Why didn't your goals materialize? Anybody can just what's it called? Especially our 2025 plans. What did you set out to do? Why didn't they come to fruition? Maybe just any of us can just engage so that it doesn't become a talking head all through. Anybody, just open your mic. What's it called? Introduce yourself. You don't necessarily have to put your video on, so that I can just get to hear you and then also get a feel of who's in the room also today. Or I just mention names. I wish if it was a physical class, I would just be pointing at you. Why didn't you plan? What's that one goal you set out last year that it didn't happen, and why? So that I can just get to our plans. Because you're all here to, what's it called? Maybe get something new around planning. Anybody? Anybody? I'm not seeing you. All right, mention names from what exactly I can see. All right, Tracy, I've seen Tracy, man, mute. Anybody, just open your mic. Just feel free now. What's it called? Because I just want to have a feel of who's in the room, what exactly it is you're here to do. I'm waiting. Anybody?
Ian, maybe I can be vulnerable.
No worries. It's fine.
Get the ball rolling. For me, I had a plan to have my own like TikTok series. So like a podcast, but for TikTok. Uh, what I wanted to achieve with that is that I wanted to share things I'm learning about leadership. And I didn't know, I was just like, now who will listen to this? People are already doing it. Because I really used to be fascinated by some of the guys I follow, and they talk about, just career stuff and how to navigate, the 21st century, etc. And I was like, you know what? I've actually learned a lot about leadership throughout the years. So how can I do this in bite-sized formats and just share it on a platform like TikTok? I don't know why TikTok appealed to me, but no, I didn't do it. It's still somewhere in the pipeline. Actually, it's not in the pipeline. Let me not lie. It's hanging somewhere. But yes, I wanted to do it. But I think for me, I romanticized the thing because I saw other people doing it, but not the same version. Like I felt like there was a gap there. But I was like, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I didn't do it
All
in
right.
2025. But
Why didn't you, or why do you think you didn't do it?
first of all, I gave my excuse that I don't have a good camera. And then I said, it has to be good voice, good audio, good video, etc. So I took a step back and I was like, when I get these things, then maybe I will start.
All right.
And then I wanted fancy things. You see the way when you see someone's video and you see
The
like the
quality.
cleanliness, the
Yeah.
crispness. I was like, no, will watch my videos if it's grainy, yeah. So those are some of the excuses I give myself, to be honest.
Okay, that's interesting. And that's one of the points we're going to be touching on. Anybody else? I want at least two or three people to just speak so that you can just get a feel of what exactly some of us had planned to do and why you didn't do it. Anybody?
For
Just.
me, I planned to, start writing because I've always loved reading, and writing articles wanted to be one of the ways I would express my thoughts around the work I'm doing. But I've always been reluctant. I did actually last year do an article, and it was around the what is this day called? The day that what is this? I'm forgetting it. But I did an article about like the progress for women's rights and where we are at. Oh yeah, the Beijing Declaration. We were marking the Beijing Declaration. And then after that, I never really went back and, continued with the spirit. But I know why. It's not that I don't know why. I do
What's
know
the why?
why.
What's your why?
But my why is because there was just so much to do, with the organization, then with my personal things. So I felt like it's okay to not do it because I'm already caught up with other things, and I just didn't want to stress myself. I don't like putting myself in a situation where I'm feeling uneasy unless I really, really have to.
All right.
And then also, I guess I was getting also fulfillment from the other things that I was doing. So I didn't really feel like I'm lacking, behind on what I wanted to do. But for this year, I want to begin my year in February and just continue, posting at least 2 articles per month,
All right,
you know.
that's interesting. So
Yeah.
you're beginning your year in the month of love. Okay, start.
Yeah.
All right, that's an interesting point you've brought out. So maybe like two more people, so that I can proceed because I just want to get a feel of who's here because we're all from different backgrounds, different particular plans, different goals. Anybody else, you can just unmute and then you can just go on. I'm not going to see your face. I'm not going to highlight you, so you just want to listen to you. So Beryl has spoken about her plan to set up a TikTok account for leadership videos. She never managed to do it. Tracy wanted to write more, but after the Beijing Declaration, she declared out, literally. So I have a lot of dad jokes, so you're going to be hearing a lot of it. Anybody else?
My name is Juliet.
All right, hi Juliet.
Hello. Um, also in the same line with Beryl. And it's been something that I have been planning since last year. I remember also this year, I was like, yes, this is the year I'm going to do it. And just like Tracy, I think I'm going to start my year in February again. So I'm noticing a pattern. I am noticing a pattern, and most likely, if I don't get serious, again, it's going to be a 2026 dream that started in 2025.
So what's the plan? What did you plan last year to do and you did do?
So the number of things I planned last year to do, number one was also do some short clips on TikTok, but now on a different topic. For Beryl, I hear it's leadership. Mine was totally different. I love events. So I wanted to do something towards event, what I've learned, until I saw someone do these crazy transitions and the camera was clear, the voice was so clear. I was like, are these the
Pressure.
people I want? Are these the people I want to are these the people I want to compete with rather? And another thing was I wanted to start my own PR firm, which in all honesty, I thank my friends for pushing me. And I am happy to say we are happily launching in February. So at least one thing is working. The other one, we are hoping and praying that the pressure, we do not succumb to the pressure again this year.
The pressure increases or decreases. You'll be like, creases. I'm seeing two more hands. There's Elizabeth, Oyuer, and Sheila. So you can start with Elizabeth, then Sheila, and then you can proceed.
Thank you, Ian. I'm from a different background. I'm in policy and leadership.
All right.
And so I've always wanted to pen down whatever that I've gone through. I wanted to write a book for the longest time. And I've never put pen to paper because of procrastination. I just say, I'll start. And then many things happen, many things come up. I'm distracted by a lot of things. Before I know it, the year is over.
I get you.
So I'm trusting God that this year I'll be able to at least do a draft outline. Then we can take it from there.
I relate with you on that because sometimes I know the burden of putting out a book. I know. I get you. Interesting. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Sheila.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. For me, what is one goal your organization, my
Yes.
organization
Yes.
set last year was to grow my business. I'm into textile industry as a designer. So I wanted to add more machines and get a bigger place, and of course, roll out the what is it called, the ready-to-wear clothes, so that I'm able to, increase the sales. But now, the challenge was one. I would say is when you do your budgeting and get to realize like you need more money, of course, to grow the business. Yeah, so that you of course need to market more. I'm more reluctant when it comes to marketing because people would say like you need to post more and you need to do more of this and this and this. So I was set to like at least do posting like maybe 3 per day. And I realized like your one-man show. I can't be the marketer and I can't be the designer, and I can't be the one who's doing the moving around, getting to meet the clients, take measurements, and do all those kind of things. Like I can't be one person. So you realize like you have a budget for the marketing team. And also I'm told like, yeah, you don't need someone to model for your clothes. You can do it yourself. I am not that person who can be able to be on the camera and start, dancing the way people do it on maybe TikTok and doing those kind of, I don't know. I just felt like I can't be able to do that. And then there's also a budget for the model, you understand? And also like you really need to shout more and do all this. I don't know how to shout more online there. And the budget for that one. So when I met a few people, you realize that the budget is so high nowadays, And I'm like, I cannot be able, because the money you're making here now, it goes all to expense. Like you really need to buy more fabric. You really need to pay the rent. You need to pay the fundis. So you're left with kidogo, you can't do that marketing, because if you put in 100,000, definitely you're gonna get a result of 100,000. But now you're getting the 100 example, you're getting the 100, and the expense is on uko juu, and you're like, God, now okay, what's like you're putting in your pocket imetoboka, it's just coming out, So I guess that's my why. One why was like, I can't be put out by myself, because I feel like it's a lot of work. Being a mother, at the end of the day, you have to come home to the children and do all those kind of things. I have to go meet the client. I have to do this and this and this. So my why would be finances, number one, was not enough for that year. And then number two would be, if I have to do it myself, maybe I have to push myself more rather than getting someone to model for me and all those things. So I don't know if it's being shy or I'm just not for the cameras, I guess. And also clients, like, you expect clients to send you photos so that you're able to post. You realize they're not sending. And when you ask for them, it's you feel like I feel so. So those were kind of struggles for last year. So that's why I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Interesting. And it's very interesting that, and thank you all of us for just sharing. Thank you, Beryl. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Juliet. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Sheila. I think all those are actually reason all of us are in that particular predicament, because you've already, in one way or another, we have touched into the reason why we don't, get to execute our plans. And it's very, very fair. All of these are very fair points. And maybe Beryl can go to the next slide. So there are always reasons why most annual plans don't fail, and I'll go through some of them. Next slide. So I started up with this particular quote, and I think most of us have actually just reflected on this. So most organizations don't fail because they lack a vision. All of us have a vision, and we're going to be talking about visions in brief later, but they fail because we try to do too much with too little. And from what exactly I've been listening to most of us is either too much, either we are trying to do too much with too little time, too much but with too little resources, too much finances, and then we feel frustrated that nothing really moves. And today is not about perfect plans, it's about realistic plans that can be implemented, and that's primarily what you're going to be looking into. So reasons why plans fail, and I like starting out with the reasons why plans fail. So one of them is ignoring internal capacity. What's the capacity that you have? Because you realize when you're running a business, there are two factors to it. There's the founder and then there's the team, right? And the questions we need to ask ourselves, do we have the knowledge to execute, first of all? And I think Beryl had, I think Beryl and also who else had also talked into it, and maybe Juliet. Primarily they want to do videos and clips, and primarily from seeing what other people are actually doing, better videos, better clips, and we feel very, very shy, and we feel maybe we are inadequate, or maybe we have inadequate knowledge to execute. But how now do you factor that particular detriment to your good? And that can be either training or something like that. I'll be sharing just random stories, and I think what Beryl and what Juliet are trying have said in terms of getting into the content space. I think I show speed come to Kenya, and one of the things about me is that I like researching about people and their stories, and I watch a lot of videos myself. Interesting thing, go back to, maybe this can just be an encouragement to Juliet and Beryl who want to get into content. Go watch his videos from back in the day. They were just awful videos. Even Mr. Beast, who now is one of the biggest YouTuber that there is with 450 million subscribers right now. They started out awful with poor cameras and stuff, but the key thing is just to start. And just one thing I've realized, if you feel that you have insufficient knowledge into something, the most important thing is just to start and just get to learn your way. So one of the ways you can actually be able to overcome this, just get into training, just see what other people are actually getting to do in order just to become better, to execute it. Because all of us, and we're in a world whereby knowledge is everywhere. And the moment we feel that we have inadequate knowledge, we have inadequate knowledge, we are always shy and just keep off our plans. But the best way to just get to tackle this is just to get into training and trying to see what people are doing. People are creating content via videos, people are creating via phones, people are creating content even via, the laptop bad cameras that there is. But the most important thing is to see what can I be able to do with the resources that I have, what can I be able to learn to make the best out of it, and just to get to start. Another thing that about ignoring our internal capacity is experience, right? The moment we feel that we lack the experience to do something, we always get to shy off. Let me just give an experience, maybe give a story, because I like sharing stories and stuff. I've always wanted to start up my media because I was like, I've been in media for like how many years? 7 years. I've consulted for big companies and all that stuff. But I've always been holding back about setting up my own until I got to sit down with somebody, actually, two people who have actually set up their own. And I got to realize this thing is not that difficult. It's just we're just shy of. And the reason we're shy of is because you have not tapped into someone's experience. And one thing I've realized, if you want to overcome this gap of having what's it called, this lack of experience, just tap into mentorship. Look for somebody who's doing something that you like to do and just tap into it. And more times than not, you realize this thing is not complicated. Just getting just a mentorship. And maybe for the case of Sheila, who's into textile, what's it called, meet somebody who's been in that particular business, and you get to realize there's a way you can be able to build pole pole. You can maybe see, maybe I may not have the cash to employ somebody in marketing, but maybe by meeting somebody, they can show you, oh, even me, I didn't have a marketing budget, but primarily I adopted in terms to come on board. So primarily just trying to tap into experience. Elizabeth, you want to write a book. I know it's very overwhelming. How do you start? How do you put it together? I was actually at one point in that particular predicament. But you meet up with an author and you realize no one started perfect. The whole thing, it's about just getting somebody you can actually rub off from the experience to be able to overcome this particular gap. Another thing is the motivation, the willpower. Yeah, right? So after the Beijing declaration, Tracy was like, this thing is just too much. I'm very overwhelmed. But that willpower that most of us lack over a period of time, it's lack of what's it called, it's an internal capacity, and if you don't have it, especially as a founder, you have to see how exactly who can I rub off to get this particular willpower, or maybe it's just something you're going to be touching on later about vision and just understanding your why. Many a times when we lack that willpower, it's not because we don't have the capacity to push ourselves, but because we don't understand the bigger why. And maybe Beryl, I'll just put you on the spot because you're just having a conversation and yesterday and about some of the things that you want to do. And what I just gave back to you was just understanding your why. And you're going to be talking about this much later. If you don't have a bigger why, it's very difficult for you to have a motivation. Sometimes from my introduction, maybe what's it called, my portfolio and profile, it may seem I'm doing a lot of things, but the reason why I'm doing all those things and I'm motivated to do all those things is because I understand my why. And the moment you understand your why, it becomes very, very pivotal for you to push yourself beyond this, or what's it called, internal capacity that we actually get to lack. There's something called, and I just put it here as a side note. It's called the SAM cycle. If you want to grow any business and you want to grow yourself to a bigger capacity, build your business to a bigger capacity, the three things you have to check out: the systems that you put into place, an essence of accountability you're going to be talking about later, and motivation. So system in the sense that if I want to do this thing, what have I done, or what have I put in my day, or how have I programmed my daily life or monthly life in order for me to execute this? So system is like, have you done it, or are you putting it in your daily culture? Right? Let me just give an example. Let's say like Sheila, you want to what's it called? I want to market my business more. But have I created a system in my schedule to ensure that each and every day I can do one or two things to enable me meet this goal? And if you do it consistently in your system, you'll start seeing the results. Because let's say marketing is not about just pouring money at once. It's about trying different strategies over a period of time and just seeing what works and what doesn't. So one way to build your internal capacity is to create a system around it. Another one is accountability. To who are you accountable to? You can't be accountable to yourself, but you can be accountable to your vision. You can be accountable to your purpose. You can be accountable to your partner. So what's the essence of accountability you're putting into place? Because once you're accountable to somebody, you'll find the motivation to do something. You look for that particular mentor to take you through something. You go for that particular training because you're accountable to somebody or to something. And the last thing is about motivation. And motivation is about having your why, having your vision. So once you have your motivation right, it's easier for you, or once you have your why right, it's easier for you to have it's easier for you to have that daily motivation, because I understand that's the essence of me doing this. I enjoy writing books, I enjoy, speaking and all that stuff, because it's part of my why. And I know that's the reason why God has me in existence. And that's easier for me. I just don't do it for money. I don't do it for anything. I do it because that's the essence of my existence. So if you're able to find your motivation, you'll be able now to overcome this particular internal capacity issue of motivation. We can go next. Another thing is about too many priorities, right? sometimes you try to do too much within a short period of time and thinking that you are superhuman, but forgetting that everything is laid out in time. So understanding how exactly do I prioritize the action points of what exactly am I doing or what exactly I'm trying to put out. And we'll go through this much later. So if everything is a priority, nothing is. So at every particular point in time, even like just today, we are all here because this is a priority for us, right? And you can see primarily if you're here, you have to be attentive so that you can be able to get the best out of it because it's a priority. And the same thing with our businesses, with our lives. What's your priority at any point in time? And priorities usually do change dependent on the time, dependent on the season. And it's important for you to know what exactly is my priority and decipher how best do I map out my priorities. Because you can do the right thing but at the wrong time it amounts to nothing. Another thing, just strategic alignment, and I've talked about it, timing, right? And we'll talk about strategies much later. What do I need to do at a particular set point in time? Because we may all have a vision, but to achieve this vision, not going to. It's the same thing we say. Rome was not built in a day, so meaning that each and every day counts towards building Rome. So what exactly am I doing every day at this particular season to get me to where exactly I want to be? And the thing about priority is trying to look at it in terms of what's the input in terms of my time, in terms of my action, and what's the output. Because in every action, you're trying to get an output, right? And we'll talk about this much later in terms of the priority template. I'll just talk about it much, much later. But having too many priorities is one of the detriments towards you achieving your goal. We can go next. And at any point, because I just don't want to blabber all through, you can just raise your hand if you have a question, if you have any particular clarification, just feel free to do that. Another thing as to why there's already a hand. Go ahead, Tracy.
Before you proceed, I feel like from what we have talked about and from what you have also reflected upon what we've said, one thing that came out was maybe getting somebody who's been there and, rubbing off of them and getting the knowledge off of them. But I feel like one thing that's not talked about is about how, this gatekeeping as well, in certain fields. And also the how to recognize that, well, this door I'm knocking on is not opening. So I think I can just, go on and keep it moving. But at the same time, also relying on online resources to just learn basics, and keep moving. Because from my experience, I feel like people want to engage with you once you are there, not while you're getting there. Majority, that is.
Yes.
You see?
Yeah.
And sometimes, yes, you might get the support that you need, but I also feel like where people lose motivation is when they were expecting, a certain lift, a certain push, but they didn't get it. And sasa you are shying off, and you're moving a bit unsure. But what I came to recognize is that everybody started from somewhere and everyone has gone through that journey. So it's just about recognizing, well, I might not get this from this person, but how do I still get what I want, at the end of the day?
All right. Those are very interesting points. I know there's an aspect of gatekeeping, but I think how I look at it is in terms of in one door doesn't open, another one will. In the sense that if you continuously what's it called? Let's say you have this vision and you really want to do it. And maybe most of the times you always think that because I've seen you on media or I've heard about you, you're my breakthrough. But more or less, there are so many different players. If you keep on, looking around and talking to people, you'll get your answers. Let me give an example. One of the businesses I want to set out from next month, I want to set up a barista school because I run like a dessert shop and also we got into coffee and stuff. I was looking at it in terms of how do I set up a barista school, right? And the biggest question is, who exactly do I talk to? I don't know somebody in that particular industry. And the people I want to talk to, or the people I've tried to talk to, they're gatekeeping. Oh, yeah, let me look for me this day. But coincidentally, in my quest, at that time, I was trying to look for a coffee machine. I was trying to look at it. Do I buy it locally or abroad? So I went online looking for guys who can sell. And then I came across this guy. I called him. He told me he was not selling a machine. And then through our conversation, we were talking via phone. He just told me, "Oh, I also run a barista school." And then I became curious and I started asking him questions. And he was very, very open. We have never met. I never knew him. I got him from TikTok. And we talked in the morning from 11. In the evening, he called me to his school. He showed me everything. He showed me the template on how to do it. And he's not my brother. We've never met. So what exactly am I saying at the end of it? If you want to open a door and you keep on pursuing it, you'll eventually meet somebody who's going to show you the ropes. So that's primarily my encouragement. And another thing I think you've talked about in terms of the motivation, I think the motivation is very intrinsic. And being very intrinsic, you have to understand your why. That's why I keep on insisting it. Like nobody, it's the same, we always say nobody can stop reggae. I always say also nobody can stop your purpose. If you understand your purpose and your why, it becomes easier to literally pursue or rather overcome all these hurdles, because hurdles will be there. And one of the initial hurdles is just that knowledge, that know-how. Because the moment somebody is able to arm you with knowledge, it's easier for you to know how to maneuver. It's like the same way I had this conversation with this guy. He took me through his school. He told me all these things, the do's, the don'ts, how to go about it. I also, interesting enough, also had some knowledge in terms of how going about registration. So we just rubbed it off. Because one thing I've realized about life, as you've mentioned earlier on, when everybody wants to meet you at their level. So if you're not at their level, everybody becomes skeptical because what are you giving? But if you have some knowledge or information you can also give back, it becomes easier to rub through it. So thank you, Tracy, for that. Another thing about the reasons why we don't achieve our goals is just planning for the best case scenario. All right. We always think positive. I'm a positive thinker myself. I always think positive. If you're negative, you're gone. And maybe just giving an example. Let's say you're trying to what's it called? You're in the CBO space and you're trying to think through, oh, all these donors are going to come through. But if the donor situation changes, what's your other alternative? So another thing, and we'll be talking about strategies much later. In my plan, have I considered market deviations, redirections, competitions? Because it's going to happen, right? So Sheila wants to go into ready-made clothes, right? And maybe trying to get into it, she realizes there are other hurdles. So how can I deviate? And have I created room in my plans to do that? Another thing we all face, lack of resources, right? What are the alternatives? What alternatives can you be able to do? If this doesn't happen, if I'm not able to get this capital, what am I able to do? And some of us, we always stop at the hurdle of finances, right? I want to set up a media, but I don't have the cameras. People with the cameras are using are much better. Of course, they're going to be much better. They've been in it much longer. Maybe they are well funded. But what's my alternative? And most of us, we ignore the alternative because we think we can't start with the alternative, right? I can start with my phone and just start. The most important thing is that we're looking at the bigger picture, but how can we start with what we don't have? Another thing, just trying to look at it, if partnerships pulled out, if one of my team members resigned, how can I be able to maneuver? So as much as we plan for the best, can you also plan for the worst and have mitigation plans around it? If this doesn't work, what can I be able to do? The reason sometimes seem like I'm doing a lot, but all these are just mitigation plan. If this business doesn't fail, or I realize it's going to take a lot to fund this business, can I start another business that I can generate cash to fund this business? All these are just dynamics. And one thing I've realized about this, it may look like you're a jack of many trades, but being a jack of many trades, and I always say a master of some, it helps because by doing various things and having various mitigation measures, you get knowledge from the different alternatives that you can actually bring back to what exactly you want to be the main. So never just plan for the best scenario, plan for other scenarios and have alternatives to just start. And if you plan for the worst, primarily it means that your why is much stronger than primarily the results, because all of us just look at the results. But the results always come as a result of just being consistent in what exactly it is that you want to achieve. So we can go next. And as I'd mentioned, I think earlier on, an aspect of accountability, who are you accountable to? Who is responsible? Who has ownership of what exactly you want to do? So many of us have no one to be accountable to. And the first person to be accountable to is your purpose. If you have, it's nice to just either have a business partner or have a mentor or just somebody to work with, to be accountable to. Even if it's a friend, who are you accountable to? Because many of us walk away from our plans because you're not accountable to it. And if you're not accountable to anything, you'll just let it go. For me personally, if I have any big dreams or any particular vision, I share it with my friends, I share it with family, because they'll always ask me, umefika wapi? Where are you? And that will always nudge you. If I told you I'm going to do this, it may look like a plan for later in the year, but I'll always have, what's it called? If you have somebody who's accountable, you know that you'll also have to answer that question. Umefika wapi? Where exactly are we? What's the problem? How can I help you? And in putting out your plans, if you have somebody you can be accountable to, it becomes easier because they can also assist you through the process. Many times we may ignore the people around us. I'm like, even if I tell my mom has never done business, but many times she may have a perspective that you don't. And the aspect of accountability always comes to help you. Let me just, I like sharing whatever my story. So all through I'll be sharing stories. When I got into business, what's it called, after the employment stint and all that stuff, I involved the whole of my family. I'm doing this. It may look crazy. It may not pay off now. It's going to take a lot of time. But I share it with my family because I'm accountable to them. And in the instance I get any hurdle, the people I'm accountable to, imagine they always bail me out. In case you face any hurdle or you need anything, they always come through. There's a time I was trying to look, because sometimes when you work through, I was trying to build something and I needed a carpenter. And imagine it was my mom who recommended me somebody that you eventually ended up working with, because sometimes working with these people becomes crazy. So if you have somebody to be accountable to, it becomes easier for your plans to come into fruition because they'll always hold you accountable. From listening to what all of us have shared, one of the main reasons we didn't do our plans, we didn't have anybody you're accountable to. We were just accountable to ourselves. And the moment we're just accountable to ourselves, no plan will ever come, because I always find it, we disrespect ourselves so much when you promise to do something and you never be able to do it. And if you have somebody you can respect and be accountable to, you'll never disrespect your plans. Go next. Just wanted us to do a small exercise, and the exercise primarily just us talking. So I want other people to just talk, because I see we are more than 30 here. And the question I still want to ask is, why did your last plan break down? Was it because of your ambition, resources, or discipline? So all of us had a plan. Maybe you were working towards your plan. Why did it break down? And then maybe we can just do an analysis as we go on. Anybody, just feel free to just raise your hand. We are 30 of us. So already I've talked to Beryl, Tracy, Juliet, Elizabeth, and Sheila. So more of us. I want to make it very practical, and I just want to this session so that we can also rub off our experiences as we work towards having, what's it called, better plans for our year. So anybody else from the chat list? Or if you're together, you can just, what's it called, send me an emoji. I can know we're all here. Because I'm the only one who's very vulnerable here. You're all seeing me. Everybody's here. I'm like, kaangalia kanaongea sana. All right, so Jade is saying discipline, discipline, discipline. All right, Whitney, go ahead. Because I want to listen to, and you can just raise your hand. You can just keep on raising your hands so that we can make it very interactive so that it can be beneficial to everybody who's here. Go ahead, Whitney.
Hi, everyone. My name is Whitney Akinyi, and I think one of the things that really changed for me, that made one of my plans not to happen, is reprioritization. So Beryl had mentioned that for her, everything is prioritized, everything is needed now and then. But for me, I get to look at the opportunity cost. And I realized I'd rather finish off with a specific, like I'm into investments and debt management. So I was wondering, do I move into my plan for creating up a different account for this particular investment, or do I do away with a specific debt that needs, that I could still do it and get done with it in the next year, or do I want to get over with it in 2025? So I reprioritize. So I can say I didn't fully achieve what I had intended to achieve, like say in January, but I was able to get something done. So I don't really look at it from a negative perspective. When you're too mesema, if one door closes, another one opens. I feel like if you get to look at what you have done, you get to realize there's not much you could have either done or not much focus you need to put into something that you haven't done, but focus on what has made you or helped you achieve or bring something else into fruition. And then now implement on those small bits of actions that you did to succeed in one thing. And then perhaps in this new year, you can replicate it in something that you actually do need to do. And then now, you build on it like that. I'd say that is my perspective on what plan breakdown I had for last year.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective. It's like I remember it is a joke I think a friend of mine used to share. If the money with the money you have at hand, cannot solve your problems, eat it. It's very funny, but it's actually true in terms of reprioritizing what you have. So if you have a debt of 1,000 and you only have 100 shillings at hand, even if you pay that 100 shillings, it won't remove your debt. So reprioritize. All right. Anybody else? What plan did you have? Why did it break down so that you can all just at least have different perspective? You're good? If you're good, I want to see your emojis. At least I know all of us are here. Okay, fantastic. All right. So yeah, the aspect we'll talk about prioritizing much later. So we can go next. So the key takeout from this part of this session is that one of all, failure is always structural. It's not personal. And I think we have talked about it much. It's how exactly what's our outlook? What are you able to look at in terms of why we failed? Because it's always a structural issue. Is it capacity? Is it, what's it called? Is it prioritization? What exactly is it? So most of the times, our failure is always structural. It's never really personal. It's not about you. It's about your understanding of the structure. And then another thing, just better planning equals better decisions upfront. And you're going to be talking about it much later. So we can go to next. So at the heart of every planning, there are three things, right? The vision, which I keep on talking about, organ and gone, and then there's the strategy, and then there's action. If you have a plan that doesn't have action, that doesn't have a strategy, that doesn't have a vision, you're literally planning to fail. So plans always integrate under vision, a strategy, and your action. And maybe just I can start out. What's it called? What's the difference between vision, strategy, and action, as per our understanding? Because maybe I can be talking in Greek. I was in business school, and business is one of my fortes. So what do you understand about vision? What do you understand about strategy? What do you understand by action? So that we can have an understanding of all these terms. So there's Lorraine. I'm kind of very fast. Go ahead, Lorraine.
I think that was too fast.
I know, hapa kuna aibu. At least hatukuoni. It's very fast. You're that student who has done the homework to umeinua wa kwanza. Na sio ingine tujafanya. But anyway, go ahead.
Sorry. Just briefly before I respond. The thing is, I'm here as an accountability partner, not as one who has a business. But I've made sure the one with the business is in the meeting.
Good work. Alisema atapanga.
I raise my hand and I'm just an accountability. I'm here to learn, just in case, because I know the current situation, and is quite overwhelmed. So in case I scare, I will listen on her behalf.
That's very good.
And then I share with her later.
That's very good.
So just in case my answer is not as good in terms of an entrepreneur.
It's fine. You just answer it the way. There's no right, there's no wrong. No one is perfect. No one knows everything. So go ahead.
Okay, so for me, a vision is where you're hoping to be. The strategies is the steps you're either willing or meant to take. And the action is actually taking those steps, whether slowly or quickly. I think slow is better, but just making sure that you take those steps, the action. Right. And taking and being and following up on the steps that you've taken. You don't have to finish everything at a certain period. Take your time.
That's very good. Thanks so much, Lorraine. Anybody else who wants to also share their perspective? I think we're good. I think, Lorraine, you've answered it quite well. You can go next. So vision primarily is the bigger picture, and it's the why, right? And it's very important for us to have a vision. What's the bigger picture as to why you want to do something? The moment, and just listening to everybody who's sharing here, one thing primarily, maybe if I could have interrogated further, I would have uncovered that they didn't have a big picture. And the moment you don't have a big picture, it becomes very difficult for you to do something. If you don't have a why as to why you're doing it, you'll never be able to materialize any plans. You can be the best planner, you can be meticulous, but the moment you don't have the bigger why, your plans are out of the roof. Because anything that comes in between, you'll not be able to do it. The reason sometimes you're able to see people do something for so many years and you ask why are you doing it, is because they have the bigger picture. One of the interesting stories, because I like watching, I consume a lot of content myself, and over the weekend I was consuming content around Mr. Beast. He was doing an interview, and I think you guys need to watch it. It's very, very interesting. So Mr. Beast and another big creator, they were being interviewed by the same person, but two separate interviews on the same video. And this video, the interviewer was the person who founded, what is the name of the biggest park? The biggest theme park. Why am I forgetting that name? In States. There's a big theme park. That name is skipping. Disney World. Yes. It's about Disney World, right? So the person who formed Disney had a very big picture. So he had like a template. And this person was trying to analyze this template in comparison to Mr. Beast and this other creator. So the person who founded Disney, I've forgotten that name, had a big picture as to how and why he integrated the different assets. So Disney has the theme parks, has the animation, has the branding, has everything. Like when you look at this plan, it's like a very big plan. As to how Disney came to be, that's why it's a multi-billion industry. And he was using this template to compare what Mr. Beast is also trying to do. And Mr. Beast also the same thing. He started off with his YouTube. He now has like 5 channels across different things, doing different things. He's gotten into festive bowls, which are literally chocolate. Other companies, he's now tried to set up a bank. It's very, when you listen to this video, it's very sophisticated. And for me, I was like, I want to be there, because it's like you're trying to build, out of this one why, he's trying to build a very big vision. And one of the biggest teasing from this interview was like, he was asking Mr. Beast, is your company now worth $5 billion? And it's like, he's not going to answer it, but because it's true. But when you go back and understand Mr. Beast's story, his why is like, once he was in high school, he wanted to do videos. And the interesting thing was that also his mom supported him and stuff. His why was that I want to create better content, reach more people, and just show kindness to the world. So out of this, out of him just having this big why, he ended up now building the biggest channel within 10 years. Mr. Beast is probably younger than most of us. He's in, I think, 26, 27 right now. Some of his videos, YouTube videos, cost like $10 million. He gives out millions of shillings. What exactly am I trying to share? Is that once you have your why, you'll overcome every hurdle that you're going to face, and you're going to build something bigger than you because you have a bigger picture. And I'll encourage, I think maybe before the session ends, I'll look for that video and just share it here. But the most important thing, what I'm trying to share, is that having your vision becomes very easy for you to break down your plans because you have the bigger picture in mind and you're able to understand what are you able to prioritize and how exactly you're going to be able to do it. And another thing about vision is that vision is a long-term picture, right? It's of course time bound. I want to achieve this within this period of time, but one of the things I've come to learn, and I think for the last almost maybe 5 years, I've never been that person I'm going to have a New Year's resolution, because it never changes you. A date is not going to change you, whether you start it in a church, whether you start it in a club, whether you start it in an investment workshop. Time is not going to change you. But what's going to make sure that you still have continuously build on year on year, it becomes the vision you have and the vision you hold. If you have your vision, trust you me, whether in 2025, 2026, I may not have had a resolution, but my vision has pushed me from step A to step B. So what I'm doing this year is just building out from next year. And my plans will always be triggered by the vision I hold. So the thing is I'm trying to encourage you is just have a bigger picture. What's your why? You rather spend more time looking for your why, trying to build your vision, than making plans. Because sometimes I always feel that we all want to make plans to compete with other people. Bistanga alinunua gari. Mwaka nataka kununua gari. I also see this thing, oh, my friends got married, I want to get married. But is it part of your vision? Oh, this friend of mine moved houses. You see, most of your time, your plans are triggered by other people. But if your plans are triggered by your vision, it becomes very easy to build year in, year out. And all these results become always come. So long as you're working towards your vision, all these results will always build up to what you're trying to do. At the right time, you'll get your car. At the right time, you'll get married. At the right time, you do all these things because your plans measure up to your vision. So I hope you're together until here. So, and I'd like to insist on vision, knowing your why. Why does your organization exist? Even more importantly, why do I exist? You don't just exist to make money, you exist to offer value. And if you offer this value to as many people as possible, money becomes the result. And my plans will always be triggered by this why. Because if you're just moved by the results, once you have any alterations, you'll move away from your plan. You can go next. So next is the strategy. So once you have this vision, what's the strategy? How do I get there? And the vision is the why, which is the most important element. The strategy is the how. And the thing is about the how is that it's just the means to an end, right? Because it's a means to an end, which is your vision. Once you know where exactly I want to be, the strategy establishes the different parts. And these parts will always change based on the different dynamics. So a strategy will always become many strategies. Let's say we want our organization primarily to maybe impact 1,000 people, right? That's what exactly is the vision that you hold. The strategy will now be how will you do it? Will we be doing it maybe through webinars as we're doing it here? Are we going to be training sessions? Are we going to partner with different people? So strategies how, and strategies keep on changing, right? So once this strategy doesn't work, we'll try another strategy. But the most important thing is that we are anchoring everything that you're doing towards the why. So the strategy is the how, and this how will always be alterating based on our priorities, based on so many different factors that you're going to be going through. You can go next. And then activities, right? So activities are literally our priorities, or literally initiatives that you're able to do to align with the strategy. So one of the things I always say is that if you can't name your priorities on one hand, you have too many priorities. And that's one of the core things about also our plans. If you have so many plans, it becomes difficult to execute them. But if you're able to now narrow down, this is, especially once you know your why and you know this how, what are at least 5 things you can be able to try to do. Because many a times like we'll do maybe this 5, out of this 5, one will work, we'll add another one and stuff. But the most important thing is just to identify in our activities what you're trying to do, what exactly are we going to lay more emphasis towards, and in laying this particular emphasis, how can you also have this room to literally maneuver around? But also more importantly, how do we know your priority? And I think that's where most of us usually, go astray. We don't know our priorities, or we're having the wrong priority at the wrong time. You may be doing the right thing, but at the wrong time, it's literally, amounts to nothing. It's like I've always had this analogy. You can be running very fast to the wrong direction, and you ended up missing it. But you can be running slow on the right direction, you'll end up getting it. The same also comparison between, I always see it, even though I think I was it yesterday, I was checking out on YouTube, when you try to compare the rabbit and the hare, and is it the rabbit and the what? And the tortoise. And how maybe the rabbit will always start fast and then get distracted, and then the tortoise will always go slow and be able to reach their goal. And that's the same thing about us. Many of us want to be hares because you're trying to compete with our friends, and then you end up having the right priorities at the wrong time, and then ended up not reaching there. But somebody with a vision will become like a tortoise. Know the why, have the right strategy, and just have the right priority at the right time to be able to achieve what exactly it is that they want to do. So hope you're together until here. In case of any question, just feel free to just raise your hand. But in terms of priorities, I think maybe we will talk about it later. I think I have it in other slides. But importance of just how do you lay down your priorities? Your priorities primarily should always fall around your strategic importance. How do I want to do it? What's the measure? Which strategic direction do I want to go? And do my plans follow around that? So assuming that maybe I want to build, let me just use the example of who? Maybe Sheila, if it's marketing, and you realize you want to make more sales as one of us, one of our strategies, maybe it is digital marketing. So primarily find that within your plans, probably the essence of investing more in digital marketing and maybe getting somebody to employ or learning that skill is going to become your priority as compared to maybe doing a capital investment for textile. So you try to look at it this is my business, this is what exactly I want to do, and then based on the place, or based on the season I am in as a business, what exactly are my strategic goals? And the most important, you may find that where you are, you want to raise your revenues as compared to expansion. So maybe raising revenues is more important. So meaning that your plans are going to align with this strategic element, and you'll find that most of your resources, you're going to put them to your marketing plan. If maybe you've grown to this level and you feel that at this point you need to expand, you'll find that most of your strategic goals and maybe your strategic alignment will now be into capital investment. So, what exactly am I trying to say in a nutshell? Understand your strategic direction as a business. So, maybe in this term, this is what exactly we need to do. So, my plans and my priorities will be based on the strategy. So, if you don't have, and the strategy primarily it is how do I reach to where exactly I want to go based on this season, and all the plans should align with that. And in aligning to that, one thing you look at is the capacity. Do I have the capacity? And I'm using Sheila as an example because she spoke earlier on. She said that she doesn't have the capacity. I don't want to do TikTok videos. So primarily meaning that I don't have the internal capacity. So how do I realign that? Maybe another alternative will be get a resource to help you do it, or maybe learn about how I can use AI to make me get my results. So important things about activities is also your capacity. The business may need you to do something, but if you don't have the capacity to do it, it will never be done. So how do you mitigate this? And that's how you make some of the decisions and how you make some of the plans. Another important thing is your measurable impact. When you're making plans, you always have to look at it in terms of, if I do this, what will be the impact of this? That's a very important thing. So you don't want to do actions with no impact. So if I'm able to do this, how do I measure this impact? If I'm able to invest in this new equipment, what exactly am I looking at? Is it going to increase my revenue? Is it going to increase the number of clientele? So anytime you're making a plan and you're making it a priority, you're trying to look at, if I make this action, what's the output? Let me just give an example. Let's say I'm trying to now set up the media house, right? Everybody can set it up and stuff. But I'm trying to look at it, how do I legitimize it? You just don't become like a regular blogger. So my priority was to, first of all, trademark it so that I can have it, don't build on a weird or a weak foundation, because anybody can get your name. So one of my priority was to trademark. Another priority was to register with the Media Council of Kenya. So you're trying to look at it in terms of, especially when you're trying to set something out, what's your priority? Initially, when you're setting anything out, you're trying to look at it, I'm building on a foundation, right? If I go fast to build up buildings that everybody can see, I have a shiny, glossy building, anything happens to my foundation, it breaks. So dependent on where your business is, you're trying to look at what's my priority and what's the impact, right? So if you have a business idea, if you're able to maybe register it, for me, the first time I think about an idea, I always think about a brand. What's the brand behind it? Can I register that brand as a business name or a trademark so that it becomes easier to build upon it? Can I have a bank account? And the whole thing is that my priority is just to legitimize it so that if opportunities come, I'm able to take that particular opportunity. I remember there's a time, I think, what's it called? Beryl, I'll share these stories because you have a long history. So I was doing some consultancy with Beryl. So at that point, Beryl told me, oh, this consultancy has come to an end. So my priority at that time was that, how do I now get to the next consultancy? And for me, I was thinking like the consultancy I was doing, and then I was like, it was okay, but I can do more. So my priority with my last check was to register a company. I was to register a company. And I used that last money, I think it was like 30,000 to register a company, do a bank account, do all those things to register it. And coincidentally, it was not making sense, but I was being very strategic. And guess what? 2-3 months later, I'm called by some agency to go consult for the British Council. And they gave me everything, and they asked me the last thing. Oh, give us before we, sign everything, give us your company details. Because, I thought it was like a one-on-one consultancy. And guess what? That strategic action ended up opening a bigger door. So what exactly am I trying to say? At any point, if you're trying to build something and you have a particular vision and a why, have a strategic alignment and have your actions match onto that, have your plans and your action match onto your strategic alignment. If you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand, but you can proceed, Beryl. All right, so here I was just trying to lay down in terms of any plan. So at the end of it, your plans comes last, right? So at the top of it, I think as I've mentioned, it's your vision and then your strategy, which can actually grow into strategies. And then the last things will be you can have micro vision statements, right? So my vision is to build this company, but one of my micro vision statements is to maybe have 1,000 clients, maybe to expand into 5 campuses. Those are small goals, but they all touch onto the major visions. And then your activities come as the last things. As I've all, and I'll keep on insisting, plans never make any sense or will never hold water if you don't have a vision. A vision will always come into fruition if you have a strategy and you have multiple strategies to be able to meet this particular goal. And then your plans will just have to align to that strategy at that particular point in time. And you can have also micro visions that actually touch onto the vision statement. So without a vision, all your plans are useless. Without strategies, you'll never have a direction. And then your actions and your plans and your activities all have to be laid to your strategy. So hope you're together until this point. If you have any questions, just feel free to, what's it called, to raise your hand or to ask any question or to just indulge. We're good? Let me see some emojis. Nimeongea sana. All right, sawa sawa. So I was go back, Beryl. This is the next slide. Then Mr. How. All right, so just go next. All right, so I was just trying to lay down this template and then maybe I can just share with you. So just vision matrix. So when you have what's it called, a vision and you have strategies, you're going to have also small vision statements, right? There's a time I've done a lot of things. So there's a time I had this idea of setting up a legal, actually we had done it. It was called Wakili. And I've seen some guys who have done a Wakili AI. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. So you want to do like a legal system, and with a friend of mine, I have a techie friend of mine who builds all my platforms. It's very, very good. So when you have a vision, so the vision was that you want to like, we realized that the legal or rather the legal system, they're very old school. They're always doing papers and stuff. So we wanted just to digitize it. So we came up with this platform called Wakili. And the whole thing was just how do you digitize the legal fraternity and stuff. So we came up with this system. And then one of the micro visions, because when you're having this big vision, our strategy was that let's try to onboard as many people as possible. So this vision metrics that I'm showing here can be one of the ways for you to try map out some of the activities or the visions that you have. So I'm just using it just as a template, and we can borrow it and whatever. I'm just an example. So let's say the vision statement, the small ones was just how can you onboard 100 legal firms onto our system? And then the strategic question you need to ask yourselves, how do we get there? So we had various ways. So these are our strategies. How do we get there? So can we be looking for one-on-one trainings with different legal firms that we can just take them through? Can you go for legal conference? Can you work with LSK and stuff? And then by mapping out your vision statements, your strategic directions, and your priority, you can be able to know what will work, what won't, because there are various factors. Let's say when mapping this, I'm just using it as an example. So even you, when you're putting out your plans, you can be able to see what do you prioritize, what can't you not prioritize. So here we had said we're going to be training, we're going to go for legal conferences, we can partner with LSK. But when you look at it deeper, we look at it like, say, legal conferences would have been impossible because you're all broke people, so it needs money to go for conferences and stuff. We could not afford it. So it's looked at training as the best option and one-on-one trainings. And that's how you map it out. So you look at it, what capacity do we have? What resources do we have? What can you be able to do? And then by that, it becomes easier. The same thing for you. When you have this plan for the year, you have this vision that you want to execute. What can you do a deeper dive? And this is just the vision metric. Can you do a deeper dive to know what's your priority, what you can't, and be very honest with yourself? Because the moment you're honest with yourself, you're able to know what can you be able to try with what you have. And then based on that, now how can you maneuver through it? And you can also be able to know, this I can't do it right now because I don't have the money to it, I don't have the resources to it, so I can push it much later. So that's just a vision metrics for you just to analyze yourself. You can go next. So if you have any questions, just feel free. The other thing is about understanding your priorities. So these are just matrices and just, what's it called? Templates you can just reflect upon so that you can be able to know your priorities and stuff. So as I was talking to you about our thought about setting our Kili platform, we had listed all these things: training, conferences, maybe partner with LSK and stuff. And then we look at it, what's the impact of it? Training, it means you have to train one lawyer to go, maybe one law firm. Getting them may take a while, so it's going to be slow. Conferences, you may be able to get a lot of awareness, but may not be able to convert. LSK, it can be very strategic, but also just an awareness. So do we have the capacity to do it? You look through it, I'm able to do it. Do you have the funding? We were too broke at that time, so everywhere I was not available. When you listen to Davito, I'm unavailable. That was my pocket then. And then you make the decision, am I able to keep it or am I able to drop it? So anytime you're doing your priority metrics, trying to look at it, what are the strategies you want to do? What will be the impact of it? Do I have the capacity to do it? Do you have the funding to do it? And then you make the decisions. And sometimes making this decision does not mean that you're not going to go back to it. Maybe the situation may change. You may get one deal and reinvest it back. So for me, how I usually look at it, I try to do multiple businesses, and primarily the whole thing is may look like it's haphazard, but everything is conjoined together. So sometimes you may do this consultancy, make this money, reinvest it back into this other one to take it to another level, and then you try to do another consultancy, and you do all that stuff. So sometimes the whole thing is that your priorities keep on changing, but you understand how you're molding your vision, because understanding your vision becomes easier. Now you can always change your priorities. The same thing, I keep on joking, and I'll keep on joking here and there. If your money is not able to pay your debts, eat it. Because the most important thing, you need to be alive. And then from that, now you prioritize. If you can be able to do something, as part of your goals, do it, and then be able to just make that particular plan going forward. Go next. I think we'll just go next because of time. I think we'll just, and then so that you have time, because I'm seeing time is moving, so that you can just be able to have a better Q&A, because I want to be done in like 5-10 minutes. Go next. So there's something I call the reality triangle, right? Because in life, I'm of the school of always be positive, but at the same time, always understand the realities of what you face. And the three realities that we face, all of them being resources, which is people, time, and money. If you always have to analyze your plans based on this. Do you have the people to do it? Am I the person to do it? Do I have the time to do it? Do I have the money to do it? If you're not honest with this, all of your plans will be going off, will not be going towards tangent. Because many a times, even ourselves, I always ask myself, I wanted to do this thing about media and stuff, but I realized at that time I want to do it, I'm not the right person to do it, because I didn't have enough capacity to do it. And I'd not built myself. So there are three things, and I wanted just to share it here with you guys. I don't know, share it now or share it later. So for me personally, I have this principle every day. And these principles will guide me. Like I have to do three things every day. And one of them is that I have to learn something new every day. I have to make a step towards my vision every day. And I have to give back to somebody or something every day, intentionally. Like, what exactly am I doing today? What am I doing to give back to society? What am I able to do to learn? What am I able to do towards my vision? And primarily, all these things usually just trigger me and help me, build momentum. So one of them is, what am I able to learn every day? So make this as a principle every day. Either it may not be necessarily to read a book, it may be to listen to a podcast, watch something, or have a conversation that's striking. I'm very intentional about learning. Why exactly am I very intentional about learning? Is so that I can build capacity. Because if you learn different things, you're able to build capacity to be able to make you be able to build towards your vision. So learning is very important. And as an entrepreneur, every day try to learn something new. It's not about, you can pick a book, listen to a podcast, have useful conversations that you can be able to learn. Because if you do not have capacity to fulfill your vision, utakuwa ni ule mtu anaongeanga tu. So every day you have to build capacity. Another thing is time. How do you prioritize your time? Or how do you, realistically look at your time? Yesterday, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine. So this friend of mine, we have known each other for like almost 5 years now. And sometimes I look like I do a lot of things, but he had posted yesterday that he had registered. So this guy, he does MDarasa. So he trains guys around CPA. So he's a CPA. He's been doing a lot of e-learning and stuff. And then this year, I saw he's been registered by TVET. He's now set up a college. And then I saw he has released 10 books this year. And I was like, but we have 2 books. You have 10. But one thing I've come to learn about life is how do we manage our time? And we only manage our time based on our priority. So realistically, all of us have 16 hours every day. So what are you able to do with your time towards your vision? So if you're able to manage your time wisely, you're able to achieve so much. Another thing is money. How do you manage your money? And how do you pull your resources together to be able to actualize your plans? So if you're able to analyze this and be very, very strategic around this, you'll be able to achieve so many plans. Because many a times, there are people who achieve the more things than we are able to because they're able to just manage their time better, manage themselves better, and manage their money, time, and themselves better. And if you're able to have this particular either philosophies or a way you structure your life to ensure you manage all this well, most of your plans will come into fruition. I've had, what's it called? I've been in the business world and I've been doing a business show for the longest time. I've met billionaires, I've met guys who are doing very big businesses. And you sit up with them, you realize they're not better than you. They're just well structured more than the only thing that they are better than you is that they are well structured. They manage their money better, their time better, and they manage themselves and their companies better. That's the only difference. And that's why I always feel weird when we see when I don't like talking about hearing any person talk about impossibilities. Everything is very, very possible. You can build a multi-million company, you can build big organizations if you're just able to manage this much, much better. Your time, yourselves, your company, your people, and your money better. Go next. So how do you map out all this? So I'll just have some leading questions. Primarily, nothing can be actualized without people. That's the reality, right? And every plan needs people to execute. Initially, it starts with you, but also at the same time, do you have the bigger picture as to how you're going to recruit over a period of time? So in terms of what's your capacity, what is the capacity you want to build in, and how do you go about it? Let's say I'm in the process, I'm trying to recruit guys to help me in business development. And you always have to be strategic. So yesterday, some friend of mine was just breaking me online. Oh yeah, and I'm looking for a job. Do you have any opening? I was like, I have this opening and stuff. Okay, so I want it. How much money? So the thing, they just cancel them off. Like, how much money is it? And then I ignored it. Oh, and then she asked me later, oh, what's the role? So I realized this is just somebody who's after money, not the role. So even you as an entrepreneur, sometimes you don't give people roles or give them opportunities because they're your friend and they're desperate. You always have to understand what capacity are they coming to fulfill towards this vision. And just understanding at what point am I in business to now start either hiring more people, how do I go about it? What are the skills gap, right? And the skills gap primarily can be, you may not necessarily not have this skill, but maybe you may not have this time to execute this skill. I may be a good marketer, but I may not have that time to execute that. So I may need to recruit somebody for that. So these are some of the things you need to analyze when you're trying to look through people. We can go next. So time, which is very, very important. How do you manage your time? How do you, Just back barrel? I think it's back. It's time. Yeah. So how do you prioritize yourself better? How do you manage yourself through quarters? We'll go through it. How do you understand? How do you position your business? We'll go through it at the end. I'm just trying to rush through because of time. And then money, how do you budget yourself? So one thing you always have to be very cognizant of is that every plan is a budget, whether it's written or not. And budget primarily means either it's time or money has to be spent. And sometimes all of us always ignore it. Not everything you can bootstrap, right? You may want to bootstrap, but not everything you can be able to bootstrap. So how do you go about it? How do you manage your resources, and how do you able to map out different alternatives to execute what you want to do? You can go next. So here is now where we now break it, and I'll share a few templates as to how exactly we can map out. So our year is mapped out. You have an annual goal. What do you want to achieve? But also the most important thing, how do you able to achieve it quarterly? Because as I mentioned earlier on, Rome is not built in a day. Rome is built by consistent effort. So how do you have quarterly milestones? And also how do you have monthly action? And most important thing towards goal, as I mentioned, is accountability. So if everyone owns it, no one owns it. So if you're running an organization and you have these particular goals, maybe you have distributed, you have to find a way, how do you distribute it across based on the capacity, based on the resources, and how you're able to go about it. So you can go next. So there's something called the balance scorecard. Here, I just wanted to mention it in passing. And That's the benefit of maybe just being in corporate. At least it makes you understand some things. I'm always of the mind that if you're in business, at least just have a stint in corporate to learn one thing or another. So one of the things I learned through my corporate stint was the balance scorecard. How do you map out your visions? And primarily the balance scorecard, we can go through it much later because of time, but all your goals have to be set across this quadrant. Your financial, your team, that's in terms of your education and their growth, internal processes, and customers. Every business, every vision is for a particular customer. So how do you able to have your goals based on that? How are you able to have your goals based on your financials? What exactly do you want to do? How do you want to achieve it? Your internal processes, how exactly am I able now to have plans to ensure that my internal operations are able to meet my customer goals, my financial goals, but also importantly, education and growth. And this is the most important because you cannot be able to grow without the internal capacity for that. So how do you have your employees learn more, know more? How do you know how do you learn as an entrepreneur much more to be able to meet this particular vision that you hold? So it's very, very important. And you can look at it on I'm sure maybe some of us who've been whatever have interacted with this, but you can look at it much later. If you have your plan, especially your annual plan around the balance scorecard, it becomes very easier to map out what do I need to do on this quarter, this other quarter. So remember, in my stint in corporate, this is how exactly we're measuring ourselves. So this quarter, what did you plan to do in terms of our internal processes and stuff? What's our financial goal? How did you achieve it? What were you able to achieve? And then we broke it down in this particular manner. So you can just look, this was just a by the way, you could just look at it much later. We can go next. So your quarterly action, so it's important. Most corporates, everybody usually maps out their year in quarters. So what must happen this quarter? So understand, this is my vision. This is where exactly I am in my vision. So what can I be able to do? And who owns it, right? And by when? So it's very, very important. So momentum is always built quarterly. So you break down your plans per quarter. And you can just go next. So here, primarily, every quarter have an objective. So between Jan to the quarter ends in what? April. What exactly am I able to do? What do I want to achieve? So what are my objectives? So just using this as an example of my Wakili farm, what I wanted to do. Maybe it's to retain customers I had. That's my goal. Expand into new markets. What am I able to do? What are my outcomes? So have an objective. Know your outcomes. What do you want to achieve? And then, what's it called? The measurement. How are you going to measure it? So it's important to always just get to measure that. Yeah. Oh, Nicole, I'll share. They have already shared the slides, so they'll share it. So don't worry, you'll get all the slides. I'm just trying to pass through it so that you can engage kidogo because time now inakimbia sana. And then also have your timelines and also the person in charge. So never have objectives without having somebody in charge. And especially if you have a team, just know who's going to be responsible. If it's you, map yourself there as the person who's in charge. So this is how exactly you map out your your summary in terms of how exactly you achieve your you execute your plans and how you measure it. Because a plan is just a plan, but followed with action and also measurement, now the plan becomes an actual plan. So that's how you actually go about it. You can go next. Oh, I'd mixed it up. But quarterly, but primarily the whole thing is just the same. All these templates primarily just speak to everything I've been speaking about. So your plans is just about what exactly do you want to achieve, who's responsible, how do you achieve it, how do I measure it? And everything has to be mapped out to the vision. So the final slide is just about implementation and accountability. And I think I've talked about it much, and this is my, I think, last slide, and then we can go into questions, and then as we're about to close. So plans always fail because there's no one to be accountable to. And I think one of the things that I established here earlier on, most of us are not accountable. So it's important to have accountability. It may feel punitive, like I'm reporting to somebody, but it goes a long way because, if I don't do this, I have somebody who's going to, I'm going to be accountable to. You can choose whatever tool you want to use. You can use an Excel tool, you can get systems and stuff, but it's nice that you can just track what exactly am I trying to do and how exactly I'm going to do it. And then the first thing was just no review rhythm. Like, it's important to always just sit down and just review yourselves. Every month, it's important to have what did I want to do at the beginning of the month? What was I able to do? Be very realistic with yourselves. Because the moment I always find that the same thing when the year starts, I want to start gym, I want to lose weight, I want to look buffed up, I want to have a bikini body for December. January utaingia gym. And then February, it's love month. Oh, this is when I need to start. Let me eat some chocolates. By March, everybody has thrown it away. But if you have a consistent review rhythm, it can be with your friends, it can be through your circle, it can be through your employees. It's important for you to always have that. So maybe just next, I think she'll be done. So maybe we can just open it out. Yeah, I think I've already spoken to this. Maybe we can just end it here. But my final submission to everybody, I think we all know how to plan. We all understand, maybe even different tools how to plan. But what I insist in, just have a vision. It's important to have a vision. Why are you doing this? Have various strategies how you want to do this. But above all, have a review strategy. If you're able to review yourself personally, have an accountability partner, it becomes easier for you to execute your plans. You can have all these templates, all these things, but if you don't have somebody to help you review it, if you don't have your why, plans never make sense. So Kohayo Mengi, I can close it at this particular point in time. I know I've blabbered beyond my time, but I'll be open to any question, clarification, and thoughts. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Ian. I was taking notes and then I remembered I actually have your presentation. But yeah, I think just looking at some of the ways we plan and how we think around planning is that the vision needs to be the overarching figure. And then now we can come into the strategy. And then now the strategy determines now the activities that are going to be done to meet the strategy. I think just bringing us back to that understanding is really important. Systems, accountability, motivation, the SAM cycle, very important as well. I really appreciate the vision matrix and the different matrices that you've shared. Something else I'm taking away from this is that success always leaves a clue. That's something I've learned throughout my life so far. Success always leaves a clue. So if you want to do something, it doesn't hurt. Take someone out for coffee, call them up. You will always find someone who knows someone around it. So, but have the bigger vision, and then now everything else falls to place. So I want to open it up for a Q&A session. Ian, and because we were doing Q&A as we went, I don't know if anyone has anything outstanding they would like to ask. Before we welcome Candide to just take us through some of the way tech can actually make it easy for us to set up some of these accountability measures or how we're going to do our planning. So anyone with any question, maybe you can just have your hand up. Awesome. Lorraine, go ahead.
Firstly, thank you so much for taking us through. So my question will be around maybe a statement or something, share something on pitching. You find that, yes, you have this vision and everything, and maybe you want to pitch it to potential investors or even a support system. So what would you advise somebody as they prepare towards developing or creating a pitch?
The first question I always say, I think one thing I'll just take it back. Before you ask somebody to pitch onto your business, what have you invested in your business? And that's usually the first question, because most of us always want to go outward before you've spent enough time inward.
Yeah.
So the rush shouldn't be to get somebody to come into your vision. How much have you invested in that vision to warrant somebody to actually just be able to come into that vision? Because not many a times we prematurely want to go to ask somebody to invest in us, but we have not sufficiently invested in ourselves. No one wants to invest in something that's on paper because every investment needs a return. So if you've not put in enough investment to make it look substantial, don't be in a rush for it, because the first investor is you, and most of us don't invest in ourselves enough, but we want other people to warrant and invest in ourselves. And how do you invest in yourself? First of all, in terms of how much time have you put into the business, how much resources have you put into the business, and what has that particular investment warranted in terms of substance. If you don't have substance, never expect somebody else to put substance in you. So the rush shouldn't be, I want you to invest in me. The first thing will be, how much substance have I created that can be valued to warrant somebody now to come into the business? Before this session, I was having a meeting. I'm part of a board member of a school, right? And I like stories. So this school primarily, I was invited to become a board member. When was it? Like during the COVID time. And you had met with the director at that point. I don't know. He just saw something in me, told me come and become a director. That time the school was in, it was just a small school. Like how many people? Like 200 people. It was in Mababati and stuff. But between COVID time and 2023, like the director and the family put in a lot of resources, taking loans and stuff. Now the school has established itself. What's it called now? Has grown to almost 1,000 students. What was just started out in Amabati, by just he was working by then, took loans, whatever, I put in his investments and stuff. The school has now grown to, it has its own campus, it has its own land. It's called Brookhill Academy. It's in Tasia, and I'm very proud of that story. So like, then director put in his resources to the business, towards this vision. It's now substance. So before this meeting here, we were actually having a meeting with another mutual friend of mine who works for an investment firm, because now we had to expand it to a different campus. So I'm just using that as logic to that this person has invested all his retirement savings, everything to this vision. It has materialized into substance, because the school now is generating more than $500,000, because the prerequisite of that investment meeting was that a business to generate that amount of money for that consideration. So that's my input in terms of it. Don't look at it, I'm going to pitch to this and this and this. What substance have you put it? How much have you grown it to now warrant that? Don't be quick to rush towards getting an investment. That's my feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. I think in the interest of time, thank you so much, Lorraine. In the interest of time, maybe Kandire can come in and just tell us a bit about what the amazing work that she's done through the Insight Brief that's available currently on our resource hub that's on our website. And then if we have any other questions, we can continue sending the questions via chat. Additionally, what we can do is that, Ian, if you allow us, we can share your business email just on the chat. And if anyone has additional questions or anything they would love to confer with you, they can go ahead and do so. Awesome. All right, Kandire, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Beryl, and thank you again, Ian. We thank you and we really appreciate you for your time and all the insights. Like, I've just been writing down. There's so much that I've learned. There's so much that I think I can apply in my personal life, but also as we move forward, even as a team, as TFN. I think this was great team building for us as well. And what I really took away from this session actually is, one, you said a saying that stuck with me, which was that failure isn't personal. It's all about the structures that you put in place. And that actually really resonated with me, because yesterday I was also watching a podcast, and the key theme was that alignment must come before the assignment. And I just feel that, especially now that we are in a new year, we all have very ambitious goals that I think are no longer out of reach. I think if we actually take these tools and all these methods that you've shared with us and we take them to heart, and that's kind of also where we're leading this month in terms of the Insight Brief that we have just launched on the TFN Resource Hub. So Barry had already explained in the beginning what TFN is all about. But in particular, one thing that we're very passionate about is building not only connectors and having a way to connect nonprofits with tech tools, but also to build capacity and to help make sure that there is structures in place, and that whatever social impact organization initiative that you're doing, that you have, we are helping you to build the tools, build the capacity, build knowledge on how to improve, how to set better systems in place, and how to elevate from whatever point you're starting from. So one thing that we noticed rather is that nonprofits and social impact organizations in Kenya especially, Kenya is a very big hub when it comes to fintech. We all are, I don't know if you guys remember a time before M-Pesa. I personally do not. I actually remember asking my parents and my grandparents, how did you guys used to send money? Or how did you guys used to communicate before M-Pesa? And honestly, when I think about the times that they only primarily had Western Union, I think at the time,
and they had to wait for weeks, if not months, before they get the money. And I was like, so what if it's an emergency? I used to ask, and you just really had to wait. So I think we're very fortunate to be living in a time like this. And I believe we all also feel the benefits of M-Pesa, of digital check tools. But one thing that I think, as people who, I don't know how many of you resonate with this in the in the chat, but generally, um, we use fintech very much, I think, but we use it a lot in terms of our payment systems. But in order to, I think, personally elevate, especially in this very uncertain times, if you're coming from a nonprofit, a donor, reliant organization, things are very volatile right now. Trump is doing his thing, foreign policy. We never know how exactly it's going to affect you, how it's going to affect your donors, your sponsors. And one thing that really would help, I believe, would be to know better how exactly to how to have better systems for visibility, better systems for accountability, especially when funding is unpredictable and reporting demands keep on rising. So the question that we asked ourselves is not whether nonprofits are using fintech, because they are, but it's whether we are actually using it well and strategically. And that's what this insight brief is all about. It's a very practical tool, and you will be able to use it to see how digital budgeting payment tools are currently being used by nonprofits in Kenya. But we also really took a deep dive and looked at what are the gaps, especially between payments and budgeting, and exactly where the disconnect is, and how can we translate the tools or the insights that we have into building for the future, planning